Good morning, my dear students. How are you all? I hope you all are safe and healthy. I, Dalvinder Pal Singh, welcome you all to e-learning of CIS Kasura. This is grade 10 English lesson, and I'm going to start with chapter number 10 today. But before that, let us talk about what we have done in our last class. You remember we discussed about the change in syllabus in our last lesson, and then we discussed about the main points, the value points of chapter number 9. That was Madam Rides the Bus. I hope you remember the story. It was so encouraging, so like you can say enlightening for each one of us. So that was all that we have done in our last lesson. And today, though it is a recorded lesson, but still I have recorded this video in the same way we do it in live class. The only thing which is lacking is your interaction with you people. When you send me your queries and I resolve those queries. But then also, I promise you, in case you have any query, I'm going to resolve it for you. My number, as usual, I'm going to write it right here. You can always send me your queries on this number. In case, I'm going to write it on the top. It was not visible. And do send me all your queries, whatever you have, and let me know how you felt about the lesson. Was it informative? Was there thing? Was there anything extra that I can do for you? And all these things you can discuss with me in your WhatsApp messages. My number is written over here. And today we are going to discuss about chapter number 10, the sermon at Benares. What does it mean and what is my lesson objective? I'm just going to discuss it with you. First of all, what is my lesson objective? We are going to read this out. We will try to find out what is the summary of this chapter. I will explain uh, every paragraph to you. So you would be able to understand what is the theme of this chapter and what is the summary of this chapter. All right. Now moving on to what this chapter is. What is the meaning of this chapter? Why is this chapter in your syllabus? First of all, the sermon at Benares. What, which city is this? Benares, you all people know, India's the one of the most holy cities, and is related to Hindu religion. But only few people know that it is also related to Bodh religion. Yes, Bodh religion has also started from this place. How? This we are going to just read it. And what do we mean by sermons? Sermons are addresses on some religious beliefs or some sort of moral values. Means when somebody teaches you some moral value or somebody preaches you for some religious beliefs, that is for sermons. All right. So now what we are going to learn about is the sermon. What was the lesson that has come from Benares? So that is something we are going to learn in this chapter. And what that lesson is, it is somewhat related to your previous chapter, chapter number 9. What Wali was able to understand in that chapter, The same thing has been taken in this chapter also. The same idea is there. Let us read this chapter. I will explain to you like what all things are mentioned in this chapter. First of all, let us talk about uh, which all main characters are there. There are two main characters in this chapter. The first one is Gautam Buddha. You all people are able to understand, you are able to recognize this name because he is founder of Bauddha Dharma, Bauddha religion. Now, his initial name was Siddhartha Gautama. He belongs to a royal family, and this story is like in is set in 563 BC. BC is before Christ till uh, 483 BC. This is the lifespan of Gautam Buddha. Now, you all people know that India is a place where astrology has got a great value. People believe astrologers. So the same thing happened with Gautam Buddha also. At that time, he was Siddhartha. With him also, when he was born, his father like shared like his father called astrologers to like find out what are good in his life and what sort of challenges he has to face in life. So when they saw his like that kundali, they were shocked to see that he is not going to be the part of royal family in his future. The same thing they told uh, to the king. What happened then? The king did everything to stop him going out of the palace. But you know that time is the most powerful thing in the world, and your fate can never be changed. And the same thing happened here also. Let us discuss. This was something which is not mentioned in the chapter. That's why I told you in the beginning. Now, let us talk about the chapter. I'll read it for you and then I'll tell you the meaning of what has been written in this. Gautama Buddha, then the lifespan is given there, began life as a prince named Siddhartha Gautama in northern India. It's quite simple. So it is the basic detail of Gautama Buddha. At 12, he was sent away for schooling in the Hindu sacred scriptures, and 4 years later, he returned home to marry a princess. Now, this is the story. This chapter is starting from this particular point. But whatever I told you is not written here, but is the part of the same person, right? So this is not mentioned. Whatever I told you is not mentioned here, but is mentioned in many of the other stories and other books and other videos also, if you want to see that. Okay. Then they had a son and lived for 10 years as befitted royalty. For 10 years. He stayed in that palace as a royal person, right? About the age of 25, the prince, heretofore shielded from the suffering of the world while out hunting, chanced upon a sick man, then an aged man, then a funeral procession, and finally a monk begging for alms. Now, what those people have predicted about his future was that he would be like he would get hurt if he sees suffering of some person. That was the reason why his father never allowed any of the old person to stay near to him. No sick person was allowed to enter the palace and meet Gautam Buddha. No aged person, no beggar, means his father tried to like keep him inside the palace without any suffering. All the royalty was given to him, but the only thing was the fate that cannot change. So one day he went out for hunting, where he saw these four difficult, or the realities of the world. The first reality was sick man. The second reality was aged man. Third reality was funeral procession, means somebody died. And fourth one was somebody begging for basic hours, right? So these were the things which actually changed his mind, which actually made him think of that why are these things happening in this world. Next, these sights so moved him that he at once went out into the world to seek enlightenment. Enlightenment is when somebody goes for spiritual knowledge. That is called enlightenment. Here, it means that concerning the sorrows he had witnessed. He has seen all these four types of sorrows, and he wanted to know why is it so. He wandered for 7 years and finally sat down under a peepal tree where he vowed to stay until enlightenment came. Now, what does that mean? Sitting under a tree, enlightenment would come itself? No, that was not the thing. Actually, he started meditating there. He started praying to God there. He started calling out his name again and again. That is called meditation, and doing it repeatedly for many years, right? Many years. Enlightenment, enlightened after 7 days, he renamed the tree the Buddhi tree. Buddhi tree, Buddhi in Hindi means, it is Hindi word. In English, it means wisdom. The tree of wisdom, right? And begin to teach and to share his new understandings. And upon point, he became known as the Buddha, the awakened or the enlightened person. Buddhi means wisdom. Buddha means the person with wisdom. The Buddha preached his first sermon at the city of Benares. This is what I told you. Uh, the starting of Bauddha religion was also from Benares. This was something very unique in this, and we are most of us are not aware of it. Okay, let's move ahead. Most holy of the dipping places on the river Gangas, the sermon has been preserved and is given here. It reflects the Buddha's wisdom about one inscrutable kind of suffering. Suffering. Now, which means which cannot be understood, which cannot be judged. This was something. This was the way how Bauddha Dharma has, or the Bauddha religion has started. Now, coming up to the next point, what was that preaching? What was that sermon? That is the story which is narrated henceforth, right? So, whatever we are going to read is the first preaching of Lord Buddha. Now, this story is about Kisa Gautami. This is the main character of the preaching. Kisa Gautami. Now, Isa Gautami is the lady. Now, let us read the story and we will get to know what is it. Isa Gautami had an only son and he died. Isa Gautami, a lady who had a son, he died. Now, you all people know how a mother would react to this situation. Alright? In her grief, she carried the dead child to all her neighbors, asking them for medicine. And the people said, she has lost her senses. The boy is dead. Now, everybody who knows that if somebody is dead, that cannot be cured. And the same thing everybody said, but this lady, being a mother, you cannot teach these things to a mother. So these things made her very sad, and she begged in front of everybody to give that boy some medicine so that this boy can wake up. At length, Isa Gautami met a man who replied to her request, I cannot give thee medicine for thy child, but I know a physician who can. Now, this man said that I don't have any medicine for your child, but there is a person who can cure this child. You know, somebody saying this word, that mother was like something, you tell me about that person, I would go to that person and I'm going to beg in front of that person, right? So this was the situation. Isa Gautami repaired to the Buddha and cried, means he went to Buddha and cried. Cried means said. I cannot, okay, next is, and the girl said, sorry, I missed out one line. And the girl said, pray tell me, sir, who is it? And the man replied, go to Sakyamuni, the Buddha, means Gautam Buddha. Isa Gautami repaired to the Buddha and cried, Lord and Master, give me the medicine that will cure my boy. Now she started pleading in front of Gautam Buddha for medicine. Now, what is the answer of Gautam Buddha? The Buddha answered, I want a handful of mustard seeds. Mustard seeds, quite common, right? In every house you can find these mustard seeds. It's very like common like seeds which are found in every kitchen, right? Now I want a handful of mustard seeds, and when the girl in her joy promised to procure it, the Buddha added. Now here is the twist in the story. The Buddha added, the mustard seeds must be taken from a house where no one has lost a child, husband, parent, or friend. Now, just imagine, handful of mustard seeds from a house where no person, means family member, elder or younger, or friend, has not died ever. Now, you think it is possible? Do you think it is possible? Now, let's read it out. Poor Isa Gautami now went to house. Now, she started wandering from one house to another, and the people pitied her and said, here is mustard seed, take it. But when she asked, did a son or a daughter, a father or a mother died in your family? They answered her, alas, the living are few, the living are few, but the dead are many. Underline this thing. Living are few, and the dead are many. For example, What does this mean? My family, who is living in this house, me, my wife, and two kids. How many? Total four. Now, if I talk about whoever died, who known to me, there would be many. My father, my mother, my grandfather, my grandmother, my friend could be there, my many of the relatives could be there. Now, how many are alive at the moment? Four from my family. And those who are separated from me due to death, how many are there? Number of. So the word, this particular phrase means that the people who are alive in that house are less in number, but the number of people who have died from their family is more. Next, do not remind us of our deepest grief. Now, they warned Kisa that please, you want mustard seeds, take it. But don't remind us about our deepest grief. Somebody's child would have died, somebody's mother would have died, somebody's brother, sister, somebody would have died. Right? Don't remind us about them. Right? And there was no house but some beloved, and one had died in it. She was not able to find even a single house where, like, no dear one has ever died. There was not even a single house in that place. All right. Now moving up to next. Now how the enlightenment comes up. Isa Gautami become weary and hopeless and sat down at the wayside, at the side of the road, watching the light of the city. Now city was there, and she was watching the light of the city as they flickered up and were extinguished again. Flickering is brightening up and then coming down again when there is not constant light. Now, if you see some sort of LED or any light bulb, tube light, anything, they have no flickering. If something is flickering, it means the light or the source of light is not proper. Either there is fluctuation of power, or that source of light is not working properly, right? So in those days, when there was no power, what was available? The oil lamps were there. So those lamps were not consistent. So those were flickering, right? The light was flickering. Sometimes it was extinguished, right? At last, underline this one also. At last, the darkness of the night ruined everything. Means the darkness, slowly and steadily, when it was getting dark, so some people lightened up their lamps, and then after some time, those were extinguished. So, and a time came when that city was engulfed by darkness. Means every candle or every lamp was extinguished. The light of every candle or every lamp was extinguished. So now it was engulfed by darkness. So this is the meaning of this line. Okay. And she considered the fate of men. Now she thought, she related that incident with that of the fate of man, that their light flicker up and are extinguished again. Means sometimes that light would be there, it would go and become the brightest when you are young. Slowly it will come down when you grow old, and finally you have to die. That is the lesson which is mentioned in this. And she thought to herself, how selfish I am in my grief. Right? Death is common to all. It is not something I have faced. It is not unique to me. It is common to everybody. Everybody is in some sort of grief, in grief of separation from someone very dearer one, right? Yet, in this valley of desolation, there is a path that leads him to immortality. What is the thing that can make you immortal? Mortal means which is like transient, which cannot survive for a long time. The thing which has to die, that is called mortal, right? How to become immortal? Who has surrendered our selfishness? Who has surrendered all selfishness? Means the people who have surrendered, who have given up their selfishness, means who are not selfish, who do not only think about themselves, who think of other people. Those become immortal. The Buddha said, the life is mortal. In this world is troubled and brief and combined with pain. Now, this world is not smooth. No path is smooth. You have to face some ditches in the way. You have to see some, like when you are moving around, when you go to any of the place, you cannot find any place where there are not like which is smooth running way. There would be some downs, some ups, everywhere this type of roads would be there. Now the same thing is there with the life also. You cannot have a smooth life. Any life which has got started would come to an end, would face certain difficulties in life. That is what is being mentioned in this line, combined with pain. For there is not any mean by which those that have been born can avoid dying. Means there is no way out for someone who has taken birth can avoid dying. Means one who has taken birth would die. That is for sure. That is inevitable. You cannot change that. After reaching old age, there is death. Now, growing up and then coming down. And finally, birth, up, then old age, then death. This is the life cycle of human being. This is going to be like that. No one can change this. Now, this is very important example in this. Of such a nature are living beings. Now, this is the example. As ripe fruits are early in danger of falling. Ripe fruit means the old age, if we compare it with the life of human being. So it is not necessary that only old people would die. Young people also die. At any age, anyone can die. So that is the thing which is mentioned here. As all earthen vessels made by the potter end in being broken. Now, if some potter makes a vessel with the help of clay, do you think that vessel is not going to break? That is going to end. Maybe in 3 months, 4 months, 10 months, 1 year, 2 years, 10 years, but it has to, like a day would come when it would break. That is the thing which is shown here. That thing has also been related to the human's life. Next. So is the life of mortals. Mortals here means human beings. Both young and adult, both those who are fooled and those who are wise, all fall into the power of death. Means power of death means death is inevitable, that cannot be changed. The most powerful thing in this world is death, right? All are subject to death. They are going to die. There is no other alternative to that, right? So this is what is mentioned in this particular paragraph. Now let's find out what is in the next one. Of those who overcome by death, depart from life. A father cannot save his son, nor kinsmen their relations. Means this is all part of life. You cannot safeguard yourself, you cannot safeguard your son also. No, you cannot safeguard your relative also. Means death is going to engulf you, your life, and you have to bear that. You cannot deny this. You cannot deny death. Mark, while relatives are looking on and lamenting deeply, one by one mortals are carried off. Now, how is this done? That today somebody died, after a few years somebody else would die, after a few years somebody else would die. As per the time schedule written in your fate, people are going to die. Right? Now, how this example has been justified, like an ox that is led to the slaughter. Slaughter, what is slaughter? Where animals are killed, right? For flesh. Slaughter. So the world is afflicted with death and decay. So the same is the scene of this world. This world is a slaughterhouse. So no matter how long you live here, ultimately the ending is same, death. Therefore, the wise do not grieve, knowing the term of the world. They do not grieve. They never grieve, right? Not from the weeping, not from grieving will anyone obtain peace of mind. Now, what is the thing? When you are separated from someone, when somebody dies in somebody's family, the family members are in grief. They uh, they cry, they like they become very sad. What is this going to, how is this going to affect them? Now see, they cannot get peace of mind by like grieving for their relatives. What is going to happen then? On the contrary, this pain will be the greater and his body will suffer. What is this going to do to your body? Physically, you would be harmed. You are making your body suffer. This is what they have said. If somebody is crying, that person is becoming weak due to crying. That person is not getting a peace of mind by crying, but he is sacrificing his own health. This is what told in this. He will make himself sick and pale, crying and crying throughout the day, night, and grieving for something else. That person is going to like suffer, become sick. So next one is, yet the dead are not saved by his lamentation. Now, if somebody is dead and his relative is crying, you think his crying can bring that person back? No, that is not possible. Next is, and complain and grieve. He who has drawn out the arrow and has become composed will obtain peace of mind. He who has overcome all sorrow will become free from sorrow and be blessed. Now, this is the motive of this world, that someone who comes out of this sorrow, someone who is aware of that these are part and parcel of life, would be blessed. What do we mean by blessed here? Are they going to become immortal? No, they are not going to become immortal. But what is the meaning of blessing here? Blessing here means that the people who are aware of this, that death is inevitable, They are going to work for the society, work for the other people, can enlighten other people. Those people can get salvation. What do we mean by salvation? Salvation is when we don't have any sort of, you can say, when we don't like cry for anything, when we only connect ourselves with Almighty, and that is God, that is the thing. When we come out of the circle of birth and death, there is a circle of birth, death, again birth and death. This circle of life is very painful. What these like enlightened people say, that this circle of birth and death has actually made us sick. So if you want to get out of it, what do you need? You need salvation, blessing of God. And how is it done? When you come out of these basic, these earthly greeds, greed for other people who is dying, greed for money, greed for like thinking of oneself. So if you come out of these things, if you come, if you like start thinking of other people rather than yourself, you are subject to get blessed by Almighty. I hope you are able to understand this. So this was the end of the chapter. I hope my lesson would be able to give you the clear glimpses of what is mentioned in this chapter, what is the lesson in this chapter. Now you can relate. The previous lesson, the ninth lesson, Madam writes the verse in which Bali comes to know the reality of the world, reality of the life. In this, Gautam Buddha comes to know about reality of life. Gautami came to know about the reality of life. And this chapter also teaches you about the same thing, the reality of life. All right. So, but with this, I come to an end to my lesson. Thank you very much for watching. In case you have any query from this particular chapter, you can always send me a text message on this number. I thank you all once again. God bless you. Stay safe. Stay home.